The numbers don't lie, they say, but in real estate, some never see the light of day. Some are tucked away, quietly adjusted, or simply never published to the media. Or worse, they never get shown to you in the first place. Have you ever read an article that tells you one thing, but then when you look around, you're like, the story makes no sense? And then your gut instinct tells you something isn't right. You have CMHC saying the market is cooling. RBC says it's stabilizing. Yet on the ground, the disconnect is obvious. Buyers are ghosting showings. Homes are sitting with zero offers. Listings being relisted again and again. Some homes sitting for over a year. And yet, no headlines about that. The real market isn't in the stats. It's actually in the silence. It's in the hesitation. It's in the gaps between the numbers and the narrative they want to portray. Because the question isn't, what are the numbers this month? The real question is, what are they not telling us? And that's where we come in. I'm Linda, one of the Ragona sisters, and around here, we keep it real. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe because today I'm breaking down the hidden data buried behind those glossy media headlines. You're not just a viewer here. You're probably someone who's wondering why, when you use your logical side of your brain, you realize something isn't what it seems. Here's what I can promise you in this episode. This isn't the headline version. This is the inside story buried in the numbers. I'm going to give you the full picture so you can actually make your own analysis. So let's get started. I'm sure you heard the headlines this month. GTA housing market sees boost in September following interest rate cut. On the surface, it sounds promising. Yes, September home sales increased. Yes, affordability improved slightly with the recent mortgage rate cut. But let's zoom out because things will change just a bit. Sales are up compared to last September, but September of 2024 was one of the weakest months on record. So when you rise from a low base, the numbers can look very exciting, but they're still very fragile. And while the headlines celebrate higher sales, here's what that really means in reality. The average MLS home price index is down 5.4% compared to September of 2024. Now the average home price is sitting at around $1,059,377. Some may celebrate that drop, while others think prices have a long way to go for affordability purposes. Now, here's a chart showing the average home price index per region in the Greater Toronto Area. All you see is a red wave, a red downward wave. Just a reminder, these are averages. Some pockets in these regions can be weighed down by their neighboring areas. I just want to make that disclaimer. Now, let's dig even deeper. Active listings are up 18.9%. So that came to 29,394 listings in the month of September. So let that one sink in. If your area had 75 homes listed for sale last year, this year it's around 90 homes. And no doubt, in many areas, homes are sitting longer and price cuts are quietly happening behind the scenes. But there's another important piece to analyzing this story: termination volume. Termination volume is up 8.6% in just 1 month and 28.8% from September of 2024. That's 16,473 terminations in September alone. So terminations are referred to MLS listings that had been taken down off the market with being unsold. It's like for every 2 homes listed, 1 was pulled off the market. This is the shadow inventory that you may or may not have heard. And these are sellers that are maybe relisting, which is popular, or taking the home off the market completely. It shows how much hesitation there really is out there. And just remember those new listings, it may be the same house, just relisted multiple times. It makes the market look busier than it really is, but underneath, it's uncertainty and a lot of waiting. So yes, sales are improving compared to another slow baseline figure, but the foundation, it's still very shaky. And I'll be honest, I've seen a slight pickup in the last couple of weeks, but nothing like it once was. The market is not back to normal, And honestly, I'm not sure we'll ever get back to the old normal. Too much has changed and changed really fast. And by the way, do you ever feel like time is just flying by lately? I've been feeling that too. Anyways, to the topic. Let's talk about what is lurking behind the scenes because this is also very important. A quiet new housing market trend is or will be emerging. A shift you can actually feel coming, but not measured of its full scale in the official reports as of yet. And this is homes that aren't officially listed. Power sale properties, investor-owned units just sitting vacant that are ready to come on the market soon, and homes listed in probate. And I actually have to say this, I've noticed personally a lot of homes, like I showed 5 homes and 4 out of the 5 were estate sales. That's not random. And that's the quiet part of the market no one talks about. And then we have thousands of condos sitting in assignment limbo. Investors bought pre-construction, but now they can't afford to close. For many of them, the math doesn't work. Carrying costs are way too high and rents aren't enough to turn a profit. So what happens? Those units don't show up in resale just yet. They're invisible to the data reports. They're just sitting there waiting, and at some point, they'll flood the market when they can. Quiet pressure building behind the scenes. And here's another hidden number. Homeowners who can't afford their new interest rate on renewal. That's going to be a massive headline very soon. The Bank of Canada says, get this, 60% of all outstanding mortgages will renew before the end of 2026. That's massive. That will burn. And the results, we're anticipating more forced sales. Some homeowners have to or have no choice to downsize their mortgage. Some will rent, some will move back to their families if they're lucky, but this is the hidden inventory quietly building behind the scenes, and none of it is counted in active listings yet, but it will be. And that's before we even talk about mortgage delinquencies, because those will happen as well. And then there's the absence of first-time homebuyers. This is very troubling. This is the hidden vulnerability nobody wants to talk about. Students and young workers are struggling to land stable jobs. Most are part-time, temporary, or gig work. That doesn't qualify you for a mortgage. And with that steady income, they're not forming households. They're not leaving their parental home. They're not stepping into home ownership. As you see in this chart, full-time and part-time jobs have severely declined since 2019. Only area that improved is part-time work for 20 to 24-year-olds. Regardless, this data is very alarming. That demand gap cascades, and if you're wondering why should we care, because if first-time homebuyers don't buy, move-up buyers can't sell, and the entire chain starts to slow down. Yes, immigration growth has helped, but even that is cooling with those student visa caps. A jobless generation doesn't just impact today's sales, it actually narrows tomorrow's demand pool. It risks creating a whole group of Canadians who may never buy a home. Think about that. That is extremely troubling. Younger Canadians ages around 25 to 29 only own homes about 36.5% of the time. I couldn't actually find a recent provincial stat, but I'm assuming in BC and in Ontario, that number is much lower. Anyways, compare that to Canadians aged 65 to 69, where ownership sits closer to 75%. That means the majority of young Canadians are renters or still living with mom and dad, while seniors overwhelmingly own. And that gap tells us a story about wealth, equity, and who's really participating in the housing market and who kind of controls it. And here's the truth. There needs to be more out there to help the next generation, because right now, the system rewards those who already own. That's the reality, not those trying to get in. We've actually built policies around preserving equity, not creating access. And that, frankly, is backwards. You can't have healthy housing market if an entire generation is priced out. It's not enough to offer first-time homebuyer incentives that barely scratch the surface. We actually need real pathways, ways for young Canadians to build credit, build equity, and build a stake in their communities. Because if young Canadians can't afford to own, they'll rent longer, move later, and spend their best earning years on the sidelines. and potentially not even have families. And when that happens, it doesn't just hurt them, it actually hurts everyone. It slows the move up market and it reduces turnover and it weakens the housing ladder from the bottom up. If we want a future where housing is sustainable, where ownership isn't just for the lucky few, then it starts by rebalancing who we're building for. Because helping young buyers isn't charity, it's economic stability. And even the industry itself is changing. Toronto Real Estate Board membership has dropped severely by more than 1,300 agents year over year in July of 2024. That's down to about 73,000 members. Some of you may say that's still too many realtors, but there will be more dropping off. Believe me when I tell you that. So what does this tell us? Why am I bringing this up? Well, even the agents are leaving the business tells you the easy money era is over. So when you see the headlines, remember this. Behind the boost in sales are hidden risks. Rising interest rates and overall carrying costs, assignment sales waiting to come onto the market, the absence of first-time homebuyers, and an industry that once looked unstoppable isn't nearly as profitable as headlines suggest. Those aren't the headlines of a boom. They're actually signals of a pivot. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness because markets recover. But you need to understand what's really happening beneath the surface to make the best decisions. If this video helped make the market situation a little clearer, hit that subscribe button because we're just getting started. Thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you watched to the end, and we'll see you in the next episode.